welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano, and on today's program, the car doctor, John Paul from AAA Northeast, will be joining us with some winter car care tips and advice and more transportation-related discussions. First, though, we check out the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, it's messy, it's windy, it's rainy, but it's warm. It is 43 degrees right now. The wind and rain will continue throughout the day today, highs in the mid-40s. Going to be a sloppy night tonight as well, with the rain continuing, still pretty blustery with lows into the mid-30s. May end as a little bit of wet snow tomorrow, kind of a mixed bag in the early morning hours through the midday, but some clearing later, and a high tomorrow, 43 degrees. Looks really nice on Sunday. Lots of sunshine, pretty calm with a high 40, and still pretty nice here on Monday with mostly sunny skies and highs in the low 40s. Actually, most of next week looks sunny and dry, but not right now. It's windy, it's rainy, it's 43 degrees in Quincy. Checking news for you today, Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch says that some progress is being made on redeveloping the Quincy Center MBTA station during a meeting earlier this week. The mayor said that he received assurances from the T that the Quincy Center station is a top priority.
Getting the improvements done on the station, and how those improvements and enhancements obviously will serve people that use the T, but secondly, the development around that station, working with the developer to make sure that the T, the city, and the developer are all on the same page going forward, so that the improvements also appropriately intersect with the development. For example, locating of the head houses, Joe. Locating of elevators and escalators and access points, the parking needs, on and on. So we're in a good position. We had a great meeting with the T, led by Richard Henderson, who runs the real estate portion of the T. I was on the phone with the general manager, Steve Poptek, as well. The T's had a lot of issues and challenges over the last several years, a lot on their plate. So the Quincy Center Station has not gotten the attention, in my view, that it deserves, but it is now getting that attention. Thanks for the fundings from our legislature, which obviously started with the Speaker, but also the legislative team, and I'm always grateful for the work they do.
A key piece of redeveloping the Quincy Center Station will be relocating the busway from the Hancock Street side of the station to the Bergen Parkway side. Mayor says that will allow for commercial development at the current site of the busway. Atlantic Development of Hingham is the key developer for that site, although the mayor says there is still no timeline for when the redevelopment will begin. A preliminary special election will be held a month from tomorrow to fill the vacant Ward 4 City Council seat here in Quincy. The 4 candidates who qualified to appear on the ballot are now hitting the campaign trail to meet and greet voters. Quincy attorney Joel Buenaventura says that people are telling him they're very concerned about how development is impacting quality of life issues.
A lot of people really enjoy their neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. They love the idea that they were raised here, or even if you're raising a family, they love that idea. But there's also that almost the change, the traffic. Mm-hmm. A highway cuts through our ward. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are those intersections, those major intersections, Quincy, Furnace Brook, Adams Street, Quarry Street, Furnace Brook, and the rotary, the Furnace Brook Rotary at that exit. They definitely are upset, or they definitely want to make sure that they can get through traffic, right. At least. And I know that's a general problem, general issue with development.
James Devine, Matthew Lyons, and Sharon Sintolo will also be running in the preliminary election on January 17th. The top 2 vote getters then face off against each other in the February 7th final election. The winner will serve out the remainder of the term and can then run for the full 2-year term in next fall's city election. Now, the deadline to register to vote in the preliminary election is January 7th at 5 p.m. Early voting will be held at City Hall on Saturday, January 7th, then the following Monday through Friday. Mail-in ballots must be requested from the city clerk's office. They will not be sent out automatically. A Quincy couple has been sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison for robbing 2 elderly Asian residents right near the North Quincy T station last year. 34-year-old Brian Kenny and his wife, 38-year-old Angelina Kenny, were sentenced this week for the robbery last February. Prosecutors say the husband and wife team attacked a 69-year-old man as he was walking toward the T station in the early morning hours of February 18th. The man suffered serious injuries. The couple also stole his lunch. Later that day, a 55-year-old woman was robbed of her handbag in that same area. The couple were arrested at their Westquantum Street home. Police do not believe the victims were targeted because of their race. Interfaith Social Services here in Quincy says that their recent annual Feed the Hungry gala celebration raised over $390,000 to help stock their food pantry for the winter. More than 350 guests attended that event at the Granite Links Golf Club at Quarry Hills earlier this month. Enjoyed an evening full of food, beverages, games, prizes. Some popular activities included carnival-style games such as the snowball toss, wine spin, and Coco Pong. A silent auction also featured a variety of items from trips to restaurant gift cards. And the event is a major source of funding for Interfaith's food pantry, along with their mental health counseling center, their thrift shop, and homelessness prevention services. Interfaith is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year. The Massachusetts Sheriff's Association has elected a new slate of officers. Hampden County Sheriff Nicholas Kochi was elected the president. Norfolk County Sheriff Pat McDermott of Quincy is now vice president. And Dukes County Sheriff Robert Ogden will serve as the first associate vice president. The change has come after former president, the Suffolk County Sheriff Stephen Tompkins, stepped down. The association was established 35 years ago. It's comprised of all 14 sheriffs in Massachusetts. Norfolk County Register of Deeds Bill O'Donnell recently donated 10 suits and more than 40 other articles of clothing to Father Bill's in Mainspring as he toured the new Yawkey Housing Resource Center that is being built on Broad Street here in Quincy. O'Donnell joined Father Bill's executive director, John Yazwinski, to make the donations from the registry's Suits for Success program, which collects clothing donations for people to wear on job interviews. The new Housing Resource Center will provide daytime services to people struggling with homelessness, also provide some permanent housing in addition to an emergency shelter. Center is set to open next spring. The Suits for Success program has donated over 9,000 articles of clothing to local charities since 2009. When we come back, we will chat with John Paul, the car doctor from AAA Northeast. That's next. Welcome back. 'Tis the season to get your car ready for winter, and who better to help us do that than the car doctor? John Paul from AAA Northeast is joining us again on the program to talk all about travel-related issues. Hey, John, nice to virtually see you.
Thanks, Joe. It's great to be here.
Always appreciate the opportunity. We're getting wind and rain right here in the greater Boston area, but not too far off. It's snowing to beat the band, so it's a little harbinger of things to come. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to say, John, what do we need to do right now before the snow hits?
Stay home.
Or go to Florida.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's all about preventative maintenance, and a well-maintained car should be able to get through winter without any real problems. But that being said, we probably do 350,000 jump starts every winter time. So making sure your battery is in good shape, and especially where people aren't driving quite as much as they used to, although they still are. Sometimes batteries are getting discharged because people's cars are sitting a little bit more than they used to. So make sure your battery's in good shape. The average life of a battery here in New England is about 5 years old. That's typically what we see when we start replacing batteries. We have some that can go 7, 8, 9 years, and we have a few cars that we see they get replaced every couple of years. So, but the average is about 5. When the weather changes, when the temperature drops, when it gets to about 32 degrees outside, your battery loses about 30% of its capacity, and that's a good battery. So that battery that might have been 700 cold cranking amps all of a sudden is 500 cold cranking amps, and that's a good battery. And in the wintertime, when we get those sub-zero temperatures, which we do every once in a while, it takes about 30% more energy to crank your engine over. So you have this battery, if you have a battery that's sort of marginal and you've lost a third of the capacity when it gets cold, and then all of a sudden you need another third more energy to get the car going, chances are your car isn't going to start. So replacing the battery, if it shows up marginal, is money well spent. And always put the best battery you can afford in your car. Typically what happens, cheaper batteries don't have the same capacity as the original battery did. And the other thing is, when it comes to, say it's a cold day and you got a jump start and the tow truck driver said, yeah, you should be all set, you're good, the car's running fine. Couple things. First off, your car's really not designed to fully recharge the battery. It's designed sort of to maintain it. The second thing is that jump start just cured the symptom of the car not starting. So if we get 3 or 4 days of really cold weather again, and chances are your car's not going to start again. So making sure the battery's in good shape is really important. Make sure the engine coolant is good. It used to be every other year you'd replace the antifreeze in your car. Now we're seeing 5 and 10 year, and even in some models, what they call lifetime antifreeze. Still, it can get diluted, it can get dirty, it can get acidic. So getting it into a repair shop where they can check the antifreeze is important. Making sure the engine oil is in good shape. Changing oil sometime around this time of year is, again, money well spent, because oil gets condensation in it. That condensation can cause lubrication issues, but it can also cause the oil to get kind of sludgy, which makes it harder to start. And finally, tires are so important in winter weather. And, if you live, in the Quincy area, will all-season tires do everything you need them to do? Probably. A good all-season tire with good tread on it will do about 70% as well as a winter tire in 3 or 4 inches of snow. But if you're somebody who likes to go skiing in the wintertime and travel up north and travel out to the western part of the state where we get a lot more snow, good winter tires, a set of 4 winter tires, is much better. It will give you much more traction to get moving, but it'll also give you good traction for stopping. And as inconvenient it is when you can't get out of your driveway, it's way more inconvenient when your car won't stop. So, make sure you have good tires on your car. And again, winter tires. The other thing about winter tires, the rubber compound is formulated in such a way it works better in cold weather. So even when it's drier out, those winter tires act a little bit stickier than conventional tires do. So that helps. And lots of windshield washer. It's these days like today where it's kind of rainy and slushy and can get, your windshield gets messy. Sometimes it seems like I have my finger on that windshield washer button more than I do anything else. And you can go through a windshield washer pretty quick on today's cars. So make sure it's full and keep an extra gallon of it in the car.
I know years ago it was always suggested or recommended that you let a little air out of your tires in the winter. That way it gives you more traction. Is that true?
Not really.
Okay.
And it was actually the idea, if your tires were a little softer, they would kind of float on top of the snow. But in reality is, when the snow's all packed down, you want the tread to dig in. And when you let air out of the tires, the tread doesn't dig in. The tread actually closes up. So it's better. That's what, people that go out on the beach with their 4-wheel drive vehicles, they air the tires way down. They bring them down to like 5 pounds of air, right, because you're sort of running on the sidewall at that point. And that would be the same thing in the snow. But yeah, keep your tires properly inflated. Open up the door, look at whatever it says, 32, 34 pounds. Check them once a month. Use a tire gauge. Even if your car has tire pressure monitors, it still makes sense to use a tire gauge because those monitors sometimes don't work perfectly, and a lot of times they don't work when the temperatures get really cold. So
I know years ago too, it was put cinder blocks in your trunk or sandbags in the tail bed of your pickup truck for added ballast. What do you think?
Sort of.
Okay.
If you have a typical front-wheel drive car, putting weight in the back is only going to take weight off the front.
Okay.
So that made sense if you drove a Crown Victoria or an old Buick Electra or something like that.
I'm
Putting
showing
some
my
weight-
age here, John.
yeah. Putting some weight in the trunk didn't hurt. A two-wheel drive pickup truck, if you could, and I don't like to see things slide around, but if you could build like a little frame in the back of your truck, and then you could put, 200 pounds of play sand in bags or something in the back, that extra weight over the rear axle is going to give you more traction, without a doubt.
All right.
Sometimes if the weather's really bad, as you're shoveling the driveway, shovel the snow in the back of the truck.
Okay.
At least that, it's going to give you a little bit of weight, and eventually it's going to melt and it's going to turn into water and it's going to be fine. So, and the other, speaking of snow, and when we do get some substantial snow, please clean all the snow off your car.
Yep. It's a law
Don't drive
now, right?
Yeah. But people still do it. I saw a picture of that little snow we got a while back, and it was somebody had a foot of snow. I don't know how they got that much snow on their car, but they had a lot of snow on the roof of their car. Clean all the snow off the car. Clean it off the headlights and the taillights and the license plate. You're responsible for that snow that comes off your car.
Right.
So.
Speaking of snow, just this morning I heard a story involving AAA actually with snow plows using green strobe lights now instead of the yellow ones. Is that something that you think is going to change around the country?
I think we're starting to see different color lights for different reasons. So green lights on snow plows. We're also starting to see some blue lights in certain parts of the country on tow trucks to give the tow trucks, people pay more attention to a blue light than they do to an amber light. So we're starting to see that. I think New York just passed a law that allows a blue light on the truck. Again, it's one of those things. And we talk about what you should do if you see a snowplow. You want, first off, you want to stay away from it. But there's always the people that try to, the snowplow is going too slow, I'm going to go by it. And, unfortunately, what they usually end up doing is they're in the lane that hasn't been plowed yet.
Right.
So they zip over into the high-speed lane where they haven't plowed yet, and it gets really slippery, and they end up in trouble afterwards.
Right.
So let the snowplows do their job.
Okay, good advice, yeah. And obviously, some defensive driving tips, John. Maintain your distance and
Yeah,
snow.
absolutely.
Yep.
These things don't change. And one of the things is sometimes when it's snowing, we get nervous and we just, we get our hands on the wheel, kind of a death grip on the steering wheel. Relax a little bit, drive the way you normally would, two hands on the wheel. Get your eyes up and look way down the road, though. You want to be able to anticipate things. Sometimes, as we get nervous, our eyes tend to drop, and we're looking right in front of the hood of the car. We can't make corrections fast enough when we're doing that. So get your eyes up, look down the road, leave. Normally in good weather, we tell people to leave 3 seconds of following distance. So when the car in front of you goes by a fixed object, it should take you about 3 seconds to get to that same object. In wintertime, in snowy weather, you want to leave double that. You want to leave 6, 7, 8 seconds of following distance. And again, keep your eyes up, because you might see something half a mile down the road, a car that spins out, and you can start to react to it way earlier than the people that are just looking right in front of their bumper. And if you ever see a slow motion chain reaction crash, it's a series of brake lights that come on. And, if you're seeing that first car's brake lights come on rather than the one just in front of you, you're going to be a lot safer because of it. So leave that plenty of room. And the other thing is, nearly every car on the road today has anti-lock brakes.
Yep.
Anti-lock brakes don't let the car skid when you step on the brake, but more importantly, they let you slow down and steer at the same time, where, before anti-lock brakes, people kind of jammed on the brakes and hoped for the best, and, or they'd pump the brakes, or they'd, do all kinds. Anti-lock brakes, just step on the brake pedal. I like to say to people, stomp and steer. Just step on the brake pedal and try to steer the best you can in that type of situation. If you're going around a corner and you start to skid, take your foot off the brake and let the car gain control. And anybody who ever took driver's ed probably learned, steer in the direction of the skid.
Right.
That was the right answer on the test, steer in the direction of the skid. But then you say, what does that really mean? And people go, I don't know.
Right.
Steer in the direction you want the car to go.
Okay.
So take your foot off in this case, take your foot off the brake, look and steer where you want the car to go. And looking is real important, because if you're focusing on the big tree or the car in front of you, you're going to tend to steer towards it. So look where you want the car to go, and your hands will tend to follow it. And in all the time, but especially in inclement weather, make sure you have your headlights on. Keep your lights on all the time. Daytime running lights are nice because they light up the front of the car. They don't light up the back. In bad weather, turn your headlights on. Be visible. See and be seen is really important.
Another interesting law here in Massachusetts: when your windshield wipers are on, you have to have your headlights on. So that was just
and that was kind of a funny one because we've had that law forever. But we never had it simplified.
Okay.
It always said, leave your headlights on, turn your headlights on in poor climatic conditions. And the law's been there since, I think, the 50s. But finally, someone said, Massachusetts should have a law that requires you to have your headlights on when your wipers are on. And they passed a law that we already kind of had, but it just brought more clarity to it. So it made a lot of sense. Yep.
Question for you, John, on behalf of a viewer who was facing a pretty hefty service bill at a dealership, wondering if they should avoid the dealer and go to an independent repair shop for a routine service.
If it's routine service, absolutely. An independent repair shop can certainly do the same work that the dealership can do. Typically, they can do it a little bit cheaper. Studies show that it's somewhere between 15 and 20% cheaper going to an independent shop. As far as warranty issues go,
that's what I was going to ask about.
If it's things that if it's things that are covered under warranty, obviously go to the dealer.
Okay.
If it's just maintaining the warranty by making sure, the dealer might say, well, you have to do your oil change at 5,000 miles to maintain the warranty. You don't have to go to the dealer for that.
Okay.
You just have to have it done and document it and use the right stuff. Use quality, if it's an oil change, use quality oil, a quality oil filter. But it's not required to go to the dealer. So you can save a little bit of money, find a good independent repair shop. If you don't know where to find one, if you go to AAA.com/repair, and you can put in, say, Quincy's zip code, and you'll come up with AAA approved repair shops. Also look for the ASE certified sign. It's a white and blue sign that says Automotive Service Excellence on it. That means the technicians in that shop took tests and when you go get your hair cut, the barber got a license. So you might as well go to a repair shop where they took some tests and did the same thing. So
gas prices are coming down a little bit, but they're still a little higher here in the Northeast than they are other parts of the country right now. What's going on with those?
Yeah, absolutely. Across the country, on average, we're seeing prices $3.17. Some parts of the country now, I think I counted it the other day. There's a dozen or so states that are under $3 a gallon right now. Here in Massachusetts, we're averaging $3.47, and part of the reason is our oil tends to come from European oil. So where a lot of the country gets their oil from West Texas and Oklahoma, a lot of what we get is North Sea oil. And that oil is typically a little bit more expensive, which tends to drive the price up a little bit higher. So we always tend to pay a little bit of a premium here. It's a little higher than I would expect it to be. So I would guess we're probably going to see some correction in that price coming up. The bad thing about seeing gas prices come down, it might be an indication the economy is not doing as well as it should be. So, that's one of the things we always have a concern about when we see them dropping at 10 and 15 cents at a time. That always gets a little bit worried. But you're right. We did see a 10-cent drop in gas prices recently, which is good. Could we get to $3 a gallon by February? Possibly.
Okay. All right. Well, the following week, coming up week, is the big holiday travel week. Is AAA forecasting a big travel year this year?
We're about on par where we were in 2018. We're just shy of where we were in 2019. 113 million people are going to be going somewhere. I think they're all coming to your house, Joe, actually. But yeah, 113 million. Yeah. 113 million people are traveling, and about 7.5 million people are going by air.
Okay.
And so expect the airports to be crowded. Expect the roadways. It's a pretty spread out time frame. It's actually a 10-day time frame between Christmas and New Year's, with a couple days on each end. But expect there to be, some congestion here and there. Also at the airports, we saw it just the other day where I think it was Delta canceled a lot of flights because of weather-related issues. Flexibility is the key for air travel right now. You may find that everything looks good, and then you get to the airport and it doesn't look so good.
Right.
So be flexible. There's less planes flying, which means there could be some issues. And the other part of it is some of the discount airlines, which are great to take advantage of, Spirit and Allegiant and Frontier, they might only fly on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if your Tuesday flight gets canceled, you're not probably going to fly until Thursday or the following Tuesday, and your vacation could be over by then. So again, flexibility is the key. I was never a big travel insurance person, but this might be the time, if you're planning a big trip, this might be the time to think about travel insurance.
John, I want to wish you, your colleagues, your family a very happy, healthy holiday season, and we hope to catch up with you in the new year.
Same to you, Joe. Same to all of your viewers as well. Happy, healthy holiday season, and remember, never, ever drink and drive.
Thank you very much. Just enough time to check the forecast for you for the rest of the day. Today, it's what you see is what you get out there. It's windswept rain. Mild temperatures, though, in the mid-40s this afternoon. The wet weather continues into this evening, and it could end as a little bit of wet snow tomorrow morning. Starts to clear out later, and the sunshine returns here on Sunday and Monday. Daytime highs in the low 40s. Thanks again to the car doctor, John Paul from AAA Northeast, for joining us today. Thank you to our crew. Thank you for watching. We're off for the next week. Join us again December 30th. Ron Yacobucci from the South Shore Workforce Development Board will be joining us. Meantime, check our website anytime. It's qatv.org. Our latest programs are there, news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and much more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a very happy holiday season.